Canelés are one of my favorite pastries out there, and they're a bit of an odd duck. Just super, super thin batter that you bake at extreme high temperatures for a very long time to where it develops these amazing aromas and crust. You take it to the edge to where it almost looks burnt, but it's heavenly, gooey, chewy, vanilla rumminess on the inside. They're a very unique pastry, and today I'm gonna show you how to make them at home, all on your own, blah, 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 ChefSteps. Let's do it. Okay, the key qualities I'm looking for a perfect canelé: super dark brown, so as dark brown as you can get before it's black. Micro blistering around the exterior will make sure that you have a crispy but not too hard crunchy crust. And then as you cut into it, you're gonna have a nice even sponge network that yields a chewy, kind of stretchy interior that's just nice and custardy. Not too wet to where it's just gummy, and not too dry to where it's cakey. Somewhere in between. These guys are spot on. I keep wanting to eat them. Let's make some canelé batter. First thing first, milk. 750 milk. 70 butter, plus more for greasing. Sugar. I'm just gonna heat the milk and the butter until the butter's dissolved, the sugar's dissolved. I'm gonna heat it to probably like 150 or something total, so. You don't want to heat it up so much that when you blend it with flour and eggs, it'll cook. The eggs will be cold, the flour will be cold, the rum will be cold. It'll meet somewhere and you'll have like 100-degree batter, you know, which is a nice inert temperature for something organic like this. Butter's starting to melt. Next, I don't need that many yolks, probably like 6. 225 flour, rum, a lot of flavor in a dark rum, and salt. That's everything. This guy's, 140 degrees, not super, super hot. So everything goes in. I'm gonna stop for 1 second and just make sure I get any flour lumps or anything at the bottom of the pitcher. Done, the batter's done. Or is it? If I pour these in molds right now and bake them, what's gonna largely happen is the batter's gonna souffle and pop out of the mold, and you're gonna get something a lot spongier than what we're going for. Certainly wanna go from cold batter, but it benefits from a couple days in the fridge. Sometimes it just takes time. If you're gonna make canelés, definitely make the batter a day, 2, 3, 4 days in advance. You'll be happy you did. This is our fresh, hot batter. It's warm, it's not hot. You don't wanna cook the milk or heat the milk and butter so much that when you blend it, it hydrates or gels the starch in the flour and or cooks the eggs, okay? So you just want to warm it enough to where everything's melted and homogeneous. And in this case, I would say stay below 150 degrees with your total milk temperature. So I just blended everything together. You can see how thin it is. It's like a crepe batter, basically. It's mostly milk and egg. A lot of formulations you consider granulated sugar a liquid ingredient. So this is mostly liquids with some flour in it. And it will maybe barely thicken up in the fridge over the next day or two, but that's just because the fat kind of gels and thickens up. The flour doesn't do much, and in fact, over the days, the flour will split out and separate to the bottom, so you have to stir it up before you pour the batter and bake them. So this is a fresh batter, but this has to age in the fridge for a day or two. All right, molds, cool. So what the heck are they? The word canelé means channels, like channeling in French, and it just comes from these kind of molds, and it has these little channels. Is it a canelé if you bake it in a different mold? I don't know. On the ChefSteps activity, even from 10 years ago, we baked them in a ton of different molds: silicone, aluminum anodized, cake tins that are Teflon, cast iron. But I do know I prefer the classic tin and copper molds. But the canelé is the shape, and it's really one of those foods that a big part of it is the tool that you use. And classically, that's these pure copper with tin on the inside. Mostly because copper is super conductive, the tin's somewhat slippery so they can pop out, and that's the canelé mold situation. So when you get a new copper mold, they're gonna look really coppery, like a shiny brand new penny, right? And then as soon as you heat them, they start to look like this. They start to yellow a little bit. You wanna make sure they're covered in fat or wax or oil over time because they can oxidize, and that's when they turn green. So any new canelé molds, copper molds that you have, you want to season them. Generally, it takes, and it's probably the only time you'll ever really wash them, is you get them new and they have manufacturing oils on them. So you wash them light with soap and water, super, super dry, rinse them maybe a few times. The easiest thing I like to do is take a little pot of oil, a high heat oil like a grapeseed or even a mineral oil if you have an oil at home for frying. And I just put all my molds in and I thermal cycle it a few times. So bring it real high right below the smoke point, take them out, cool them, put them back in. That's one way to do it, is a whole pot of oil. You can also coat them and bake them in a super hot oven, take them out and you do a couple thermal cycles. It's just like seasoning a cast iron pan. It's really no different. And that will basically season the copper so nothing oxidizes, corrodes, and then your tin will be a little bit more non-stick. We have canelé molds. We have canelé batter, we're almost ready to bake, but we gotta coat them in something so they don't get stuck in here. Because think about it, you're baking a sugary, eggy batter, more than likely they're gonna get stuck and you're gonna have to scrape them out. And if you do, that's because you didn't have seasoned mold and you didn't have a fatty, waxy barrier between the batter and the mold. When we first published the canelé recipe on ChefSteps, again, over a decade ago, I published it with just butter. And what I would do is brush some, put them in the fridge, brush another layer on. All the traditional recipes say use beeswax and butter, but 10, 12 years ago, you couldn't get really good food grade organic beeswax in like 24 hours sent to your house from Amazon. Now you can. So what I've come back to again is equal parts clarified butter and beeswax. Having a mix of beeswax and butter gives you really good non-stick performance, really good flavor, and then at the end it also gives you this browning and kind of sheen on the actual pastry as well. Beeswax, as you may or may not know, has a pretty high melting point, certainly much higher than butter. So cutting 50-50 beeswax butter will lower the melting point a bit, but still higher than butter. I've got a pot of 50-50 beeswax butter here, but even the stuff that's on the handle is starting to solidify, which is kind of good for the pastry, good for the baking and molding, but all beeswax in your mouth is not a good eating experience. So that's why I also like to err on a ratio that's less beeswax than some might recommend. The more beeswax you have in there, the more you're gonna feel it on your mouth, because beeswax doesn't really melt at mouth temperature, 100 degrees, 98 degrees. So you have all these molds. This pot, look at that color. This is hot and liquid, and then as soon as you put it on something, it starts to gel. Don't do what I just did because we want to put it on the inside. What I think is easiest and most repeatable at home, basically fill the whole mold, right? And I just pour on the edge so it really coats the whole edge. It's kind of like if you were doing sugar on a ramekin mold for a souffle or something, So again, just kind of pouring off the edge like that. Okay, they're all coated. And now we want to get the excess off. Ba, ba, da, ba. See how it's all solid in there? So then hit it with a blowtorch. And I can see it like whoop, see that? And now there's enough in there that it's gonna start to set up again, but that's plenty. But then you get the excess off and then there's enough in here. The goal here is to get the thinnest amount of butter and wax in the mold evenly all over the mold. And then when we put the custard in, it's cold and set though. Here, I'll show you real quick. This is perfect amount of wax. You can see the corner, the edge a little bit, and the bottom, if you really look at it, it's lightly foggy. But this is way too much wax on this one. The other thing is just put them in the oven for, 20, 30 seconds. Same thing is gonna happen. Okay, they're all melting. That's it. See, it slid out. I could maybe do longer. That's pretty good though. And then from here, they go in the fridge. Let's get our molds. All right. I'm not gonna bake them on this pan because I can keep doing more of these and then I can heat this wax butter up and reuse it so I'm not wasting it. I don't think it matters too much how much you weigh them. It really depends to your mold, but more than anything, I find like a 1/4 inch from the top gives you just enough souffle to where they don't pop out. And for these, it happens to be about 70 grams or so. Not a lot of folks have these at home. I really like these too. Sauce guns, they're like big. Let's see, first to check it. So they have a little valve. You lift this guy, the trigger, and it opens this up. But you see I didn't dump all of it in, because if you dump it all in, you might not have the right adjustment. It's pouring all over the table. We're good. So I'll put my batter in. I'm just gonna match about the height. All right, let's get these guys started. I know I'm using our fancy Rationale ovens. A home oven works great. You want a lot of space for these, so let the copper tin do the work. 450, 15 minutes with pretty high fan, then 350 low fan for 20, 30 minutes. A home oven, you might want to add 5 minutes to the 450 and 5 minutes to the 350 because your home oven's just not going to be as efficient in moving air around. With canelé, you can't go by just looking at them if they're done. And you can't really go by even taking a temperature of the inside because the inside temperature is going to get to 200 degrees probably at the 450 mark, you know, but we need to go for a lot longer than that to dry it out. You don't want to reference the top color as your final target temperature or, you know, your visual cue for doneness. Let's just go ahead and look at these. So first stage, 450. Now I'm coming down to 350. You know, the other thing about copper, it's gonna sear the heck out of your fingers. So use tongs, use a rag. Sometimes, like if you had a fresh batter, it could souffle up over this edge. And if it does that, just give them a little bang. That'll make sure the bottom's in contact. It's not souffling off the bottom. Just for the heck of it, I'll show you where the cooking is on this one. So you can see that's after the first stage. It's not done. So you have a little blonde here, spotty everywhere. I bet it's delicious, but this thing's just gonna be this ooey gooey custardy thing. But if we want that deep shell, that deep crust, develop all that nice flavor, we gotta go 350, another 20 or so minutes. Oh yeah! That's a lot of oven for 6 little canelé. The canelé molds themselves are gonna be wicked hot and they move a lot of heat energy quick, so don't touch them with your hands. We're gonna take these out, look at them, but I'll show you a wide range of canelé performance. So you take it out and you see it's gooey, it's soft. This kind of case hardening you get on the outside is super desirable, but anytime you cook sugars to those temperatures, you want them to cool so much that they crystallize and firm up. You want them to completely cool, and then they'll be light and crispy and sticky gooey on the inside. Here's the exact same canelé. I'll just put a couple comparable looking ones. These are 2 that are baked just now, and these are 2 that have cooled for several hours. You can even hear. Perfect timing. Just let him do his thing. These guys have cooled, and these guys are can't really hear anything. The wax on the outside, the butter is soft, and they're like hard pillows. So they gotta cool off. This is what I would say is a perfect canelé ending. So we've got a really nice deep dark brown, about as dark brown as you can go before it's black. Really nice blistering on the outside. Those little bubbles are gonna make sure that they crunch. You've got a little contrast here. You can see that where that mold is at the bottom. It'll let you know that there's still some gooey moisture on the inside. As you cut them open, you can see a really nice network, thin crust, really good sponge on the inside. That's a good nose head shape. These are so good. I love these. A lot of very old French recipes, they don't have salt, and like old baking books, this has really, really nice flavor. This is the ChefSteps formula. Just a little salt goes a long way. Really, really nice aroma. It's got the rum, egg, vanilla, the dark caramel, kind of hazelnut, burnt noisette kind of notes, and the texture of the crunch versus the gooiness. I love it. That is a really excellent canelé. A really, really unique pastry in the pastry world. One of my favorites, kind of like an adult pastry, you know, not too much bread, not too much sugar, but just enough to like round out a nice meal. At ChefSteps, we've got other formulas, lots of tips and tricks. That's Canelés, kind of old school, new school. One of my favorites. Check it out at ChefSteps. Yum. Ooh. They're like little gears.
Subscribe to our channel and visit chefsteps.com for more tips, recipes, guides, and tools to help you level up in the kitchen.